So I know that this video is only like a week and a half late, but I'm actually glad I took the time to fully play the game and to give it my full attention. As yes, I have heard of the Yakuza series just like everyone else. In fact, I really love the Yakuza Like a Dragon mini-series that they're doing now, the RPG turn-based game, which is incredibly awesome, and I've spent so much time in that world. But the actual Yakuza games, starting off at Kiwami or Zero, and then there's like 6 or 7 or 10 of them. I've heard of them, of course, but it just never really felt like it was a good time for me to get into them. Even though I know that a lot of people truly love these games, and even some friends of mine could tell me how much they really enjoy them, it just never seemed like a good opportunity because there's just so many games and I had no idea where to start. But thanks to Yakuza Kiwami dropping on the Nintendo Switch, I finally have that opportunity to really just start at the ground floor. Before we get into this though, please hit that like and subscribe button. That lets YouTube and the algorithm know that you really enjoy subpar video game channels, and well, you're still here, so maybe you do. Anyway, let's get into Yakuza Kiwami. Anyway, when I first started playing this game, I have to tell you that I went into this game about 3 or 4 times before it finally clicked. And the very first time, I don't know if it was my eyes, if it was the fact that maybe it got patched and I didn't realize it. One of the things that my mind fixated on for some odd reason was, while running around in the streets of Japan as your main character, I just felt like the game was a little bit laggy. Nothing game breaking or anything like that, it just felt like it dipped a little bit every now and then. And I don't know what happened because the second time I played it, I didn't notice that. So maybe there was a patch, maybe it was just me getting used to the Switch and to that game altogether, don't know what it was. But finally the second time, I have to say that I got into the game and there again, it took a little while to click. One of the main things for me was just realizing that, and this is going to sound weird, that it's a beat 'em up. Once I kind of played it as a beat 'em up, my entire experience with the game completely changed, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. For some odd reason though, playing it as maybe an action RPG or something like that just didn't work for me. I can't explain why, but I'm just telling you my experience. An understanding that the game was formulaic, where you go from point A to point B, then you fight some goons, push the story forward. I don't know, it just became predictable but yet very enjoyable to me. And in that sense, very different from Like a Dragon or the Judgment series, all which I'm a big fan of. So this is why it was really important for me to get into this, because I knew I loved the world that it existed in, arguably the world it created. I just wasn't very familiar with the actual series. So anyway, being able to just understand that formula for this game, and even moving on with some of the other Yakuza games, it just helped me. I can't explain why, but I enjoyed that aspect of it. And then it really started to jump out to me when I realized that you could upgrade your character. This was pretty early on, but knowing that there was more to grow on just also made this game a lot more engaging, and it really had me chasing down enemies a lot more than I think I would have been. But just knowing that I could continue to gain experience, which seemed to go really quick in this game. Like, the amount of skill points that you could accumulate while just running around and causing fights. I shouldn't say causing fights, but running into them. You can really upgrade your main character really quickly. And I would spend sometimes hours just doing that, just running around the streets, finding the same gang members or thugs or bums or whoever they were, and fighting them. It just became really fun to me. At the same time, I also got to fight another character who is kind of a rival from the past, and every time you fight him, one of your specific combat styles is actually upgraded, and that was just as fun to me as trying to find him to upgrade that specific style. It's a dragon style. No other character in the game harnesses that ability, so to upgrade that was pretty awesome. And that actually leads to another really fun part of the game, which is the combat stances, which you do have 4 of them at the very beginning, one of them being a dragon style. And all of those you can upgrade and also change in between stances on the fly during combat. So if one stance isn't really working for you, you can move to a different stance or style. And with the combat and its button mashy, beat 'em up style of arcadey fun, the only thing that really was an issue for me, and I say issue quote unquote, was the story for me. But ultimately, it's actually more the characters and how they introduce them in the game, as they give them a big introduction on each character, and then they'd also have their title, their full name, and for some reason, I just couldn't seem to absorb that information. And so I'd often forget what characters are aligned with who and what factions they work with, and I would kind of need a refresher. Part of it was because when I would see the characters, I was trying to really get their name down, because I'm kind of going through a linguistic battle, as J's, for me, make a ooh sound. And so I know that's not how they sound from Japan to America or even in Japan, so I'm trying to really get those names down so I can say their name properly. And in that, I sort of lost the story in some ways. Not completely, don't get me wrong. The game, it tells a pretty simplistic narrative, but it does get a little complex. And so when there were some of those more finer details, I had to kind of go back and look and see what was actually happening and who aligned with who, plus the fact that there was a lot of intrigue, a lot of characters double-crossing each other or only working for themselves. That sort of thing happened enough where I had to refresh my memory when it came to who these characters first aligned with and that kind of thing. It wasn't a huge deal, but it was enough where I kind of lost the narrative a couple times and then found myself almost not wanting to jump back into it. It almost seemed like a little bit more of a headache. But the story itself, I think, is really good and one of justice and revenge. And if you know the series, that's kind of how a lot of them are. But essentially, you play as a main character and you are about to take on your own family in the Yakuza sense, just to be clear. But anyway, you've risen through the ranks, you've worked your butt off, and you deserve this position. And you're celebrating as kind of the golden boy. Your best friend, on the other hand, doesn't really have those accolades, but he embraces your success as well as your girlfriend, or girl you want to be your girlfriend. You're all close childhood friends, and you're given a mission to go meet with the head of the family to go talk over some things, get some stuff sorted out, get ready for your position, understand your responsibilities, all that good stuff. And as you head into the office, you find your best friend there with a gun. The president or the head of the family is dead, and your wannabe girlfriend is in shock. And your best friend tells you the president tried to attack her. He tried to assault her. And you immediately think of your best friend and the fact that his sister is awaiting some very serious surgeries and she may not make it out. She might only have a couple years to live. And you tell your best friend to take your girl and get the hell out of there, as you're the one who's left holding the gun. You do 10 years behind bars, and that 10 years leaves you rusty. You lose all the power that you had before. And very early on, you find out that your best friend may actually have put a hit on you, and he has risen through the ranks and has his own family. Not to mention, your girl is completely missing. No one's seen her forever, and the family that you once treasured and you worked for is completely gone. And this is really where we start off in the game, and I have to say that I thoroughly enjoyed the ride. For me, it took about 28 hours to beat. I think I've seen where it takes around 18 to 20, but I kind of got lost in the sauce of just upgrading my character, running around and fighting people, doing some of the side quests, which there are a ton of. And I have to say, I absolutely recommend this game. I give this one a 8 out of 10. If you've been interested in the Yakuza series, or you're like me and you played Judgment and Like a Dragon and a lot of the other series from this series, and you really want to get into the base series itself, can't say series too many times, this is a really good starting point though, and I think that it gives you that berth to then go forward and play 0, 1, 2, whatever one. I know there's also a Kiwami 2. I'm still not exactly sure the proper order, but I'm gonna kind of just trust Nintendo here, and the next one that comes out be the next one I play. It does seem to be in that right direction to give you the full story, but even if you have no plans on conquering the entire series, picking up this one for $20 as just a one-hand experience is gonna be some of the best money you spend. And honestly, I don't know if there's another game that's out right now that is so cheap but gives you so much. So ultimately, like I said, this is a definite pickup for me. Let me know what your thoughts are. Are you a fan of the Yakuza series? Are you a fan of Judgment or Like a Dragon or any of those other ones? Or are you somebody who's pretty excited to jump into the series? Or have you been waiting so long for my review that you already got the game? I don't know. Just let me know your thoughts. Agree, disagree, either way. I love each and every one of you. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.